G'day there, ladies and leggings. Now, being famous in the Pokemon world isn't too hard. As long as you know the basics of battle and you're pretty good, you can get pretty high up there, such as a gym leader or elite four member. You could even be a noob tutor. As long as you've got kind of the art for battling and you've got an interest in battling, you should be able to get pretty high into the Pokemon world. But of course, there are a few other avenues for being famous in the Pokemon world, being a Pokemon professor or a contest star. So it is kind of rare to see people that are famous that aren't related to battling or being a researcher, being a professor or a contest star. But that is why I would like to talk about an underrated inventor of the Pokemon series. One that is really important to the Pokemon world. These battle stars and gym leaders, they wouldn't really exist without this person and their inventions. A kind of cornerstone to Pokemon society, if you will, that doesn't really get the love that they deserve. And so I'm going to be talking about one such celebrity that you should probably think about a bit more next time you play the games. And that is, of course, the Pokemaniac Bill. Now, Bill is a Johto boy, but he, was first seen in Kanto in the Gen 1 games. Now, he is famous for two main things, really. The first is that he's a bit of a collector for Pokemon, including like rare Pokemon such as Abra, and I guess is also pretty known for Pokemon Eevee and enjoying its evolutions. But perhaps the other main reason for his fame is that he has invented some really outstanding technology for the Pokemon world, and I'll be going over that in just a moment, but it is important to kind of just preface how famous Bill is and how kind of unique he is in the Pokemon world. So for starters, you kind of start to hear about Bill from Cerulean City when you're going up there. The whole reason you have to go past Nugget Bridge and on that route is for Bill, or rather, Bill is the only thing on that route that is important. And so you might be wondering, like, okay, what did Bill do? Like, who is this guy? What does he do? How has he impacted and shaped the Pokemon world? Well, that would be from his primary invention, which is the Pokemon Box Storage System. We'll just be simplifying that to the PC for now. Now, there is some debate about how much Bill did do by himself, because in Gen 3 and Gen 6 it's kind of implied that Lynette co-developed the Pokemon Storage System, PC, and so it is a bit up in the air about how much you can really contribute to Bill, but since Lynette was introduced in later generations and this video is talking about Bill, I'm for now going to just say that Bill is entirely responsible for inventing the PC system. And so what is this PC system? Well, to put it simply, you can store Pokemon into a computer and retrieve that Pokemon elsewhere. I don't know how exactly that works. It might be an underground system of pipes and tubes just transporting the Pokeballs, or it could be like a digitization of the Pokeball and rematerializing it elsewhere. Needless to say, it is a very impressive system. It is of course limited in Gen 1 for their PCs, but it allows you essentially to view Pokemon stats and, their images as a little sprite on a screen, and be able to take them wherever you want and store them whenever you want, as long as you're connected to the network of PCs and Pokemon Centers and all that. PCs are elsewhere rather than just Pokemon Centers, but that's the main place that people can look into it. But not only that, but the PC is individualized, so that means that there's potentially thousands of Pokemon, or millions of Pokemon. So that means that countless Pokemon across various trainers' accounts existing in essentially like a limbo state, which is very impressive, not gonna lie. And if I had to guess, it would be kind of developed based on the idea of the item storage system, which is essentially the same thing, but I imagine that items are less complicated than Pokemon to store, transport, and retrieve and view data. So Bill being able to make this has really revolutionized the world of Pokemon, because essentially means that you can have more than 6 Pokemon at any given time. Without this kind of rule, there would be only 6 Pokemon available per person. And of course, if you ever wanted to store your Pokemon, you would have to just manually store it somewhere and go back to that same location to grab it. With the PC, you can store a Pokemon anywhere. You can store a Pokemon in certain places and retrieve that Pokemon from other certain places, but essentially anywhere. In later generations, with the remote PC being able to store and retrieve Pokemon anywhere has really added on to the Pokemon world, but that would not be possible without the inventions that Bill has created. So that's the main thing that Bill has done that has gotten him to a certain level of fame. The Pokemon collection and rare Pokemon does help, but the Pokemon storage system is the main way that he rose to his fame in the Kanto region, at least. And so when you think about the Nugget Bridge in the route to Bill, you can kind of think of that as like a security guard. Like the Nugget trainers there to help weed out all the people that just want to meet Bill and distract him from his current work. And it wouldn't also surprise me if the nuggets handed out from Nugget Bridge were Bill's own account, or if Bill has just got infinite amount of nuggets. Because if you think about it, making such a revolutionary system for the world of Pokemon, you're gonna get rich from that. And that's also kind of bringing us to my next point, in that Bill is still inventing. Because when you meet Bill, you find out that he's trying to work on a transporter system, almost like a teleporter. However, it does go incorrectly and he ends up merging with a Pokemon. But I think even if that was his entire invention, to merge with Pokemon, that would still get a lot of traction in the Pokemon world. Between researchers that want to get closer to Pokemon and, experiment that way, to any kind of military that would like to convert their soldiers into Pokemon human hybrids. Or, I'm guessing you can probably think of other reasons nowadays that would want to merge with Pokemon, but anyway. And so even if that was his invention, that would already be very impressive, but he's basically just working on a teleporter in his own little work home. The little cottage on that route north of Cerulean is kind of like, I don't know if it's his actual home in the Kanto region, so to speak, but whether it's for work or leisure, he's essentially got himself his own little house on a route that has nothing else. So he's really living the solidarity life. And of course, Bill is very charitable. Like, he is very willing to showcase his Pokemon, and he's willing to give 2 tickets to the SSN to just anyone that pops by, really. Like, the SSN is like a very luxury kind of cruise ship that a lot of famous trainers like go on to share their Pokemon and do battle and just kind of relax. It's basically a Pokemon trainer cruise liner. The tickets were given to him, and then that he would give the tickets rather than enjoying it really adds to the kind of dedication he has to his research. And I'd also just like to mention that Bill received 2 tickets, and you don't just hand 2 tickets to 2 tickets for a cruise ship to someone unless he had a significant other, but you never know. And so the fact that he just handed out the 2 tickets. However, there is more to it than meets the eye with just Kanto stuff. Like, as we see in Johto, he is working on, and I kid you not, a time capsule. A way for you to transfer Pokemon back to Gen 1, because it was, backwards compatible with Gen 1, and this is the in-universe explanation as to how that works and the kind of nuances of that. But this time capsule is huge for the Pokemon world in terms of the world building, and I'm not going to go into it too deeply here, but let's just say that the time travel aspect of it is the least important part of the time capsule. And so Bill has been kind of working on devices to transcend time and space, which doesn't really get brought up by many people. He's got enough fame to really have his own kind of private bodyguards, be invited to luxury cruise ships whenever he feels like it, and without Bill, there would be essentially no Pokemon universe, or rather, the universe would be very restricted. Like, imagine gym leaders only having 6 Pokemon total, and gym leaders, they kind of need to change up their Pokemon depending on how many gym badges the challenger has, so only having 6 Pokemon would really limit their capabilities to do that. Needless to say, the PC has been a really impactful invention for the Pokemon world, and there are other things in the Pokemon universe that could be accounted to Bill. I'm not entirely sure about the timeline of events in the Kanto region, so I don't think Bill is responsible for anything from the power plant or anything to do with the mansion or perhaps the invention of Porygon, but some potential things that Bill could have been involved in, this is of course speculation, he could have been involved with Silph, and so the 2 main things from Silph to be really interested in would be the Silph and the upgrade. And so I think if you told someone that there were Pokemon out there that you couldn't quite see, and that they had the kind of intelligence to do so, I think they would be involved in making the Silph. It makes sense that Bill, a Pokemaniac, would be very interested in observing the ghost Pokemon at least, and to be able to see interact with them, so making Bill part of the team that made the Silph doesn't seem too much of a stretch to me. Not only that, once Team Rocket has been liberated from Kanto, Silph is able to start correcting the mistakes of Porygon and start to develop an upgrade system for it. And I think Bill would also be interested in that. He would also be intelligent enough to help out, because Bill is quite possibly one of the smartest people in the Pokemon world. Like, in a grand scale of youngsters and gym leaders, professors, Bill is probably like a 10 out of 10 for intelligence. I can go over the intelligence of people in another video, but needless to say, Bill is very intelligent inside the Pokemon world. And so yeah, it is quite possible that Bill has helped Silph in the past. I doubt there would be much of a reason for him to be in Kanto besides that, because if you don't know, he's a Johto boy at heart, lives in Goldenrod, but he works in Kanto, which is kind of interesting. Perhaps it is that route with the few people there, he can really work on his inventions, or maybe he's over in Kanto to work with Silph. But needless to say, Bill is very intelligent, very famous, very kind, and the Pokemon world wouldn't quite exist without him. So overall, I think Bill is perhaps the most important celebrity in the Pokemon world in terms of developments in the Pokemon world. Before him, it would have been kind of rough. I don't know the exact timeline of when Pokeballs and Pokemon were really popular, but I imagine it wasn't too long after that Bill invented the PC system to help out trainers and really revolutionise the Pokemon world. If you have any other ideas about Bill, or perhaps other celebrities in the Pokemon world you'd like me to cover, you can let me know down below. But for now, that's going to be it. Alright, see ya.